Hello everyone. Today, well, I had a different video planned for today, but this is done, so we're going to give it a go. As you probably know, we're looking at the HX115 LR again from BetaFPV, and you'll probably notice new props, just as I talked about in the last video. And this made things a whole lot better. Again, I'm flying it on the GNB 600 milliamp 1S battery with a BT20 connector that I adapted to that battery. And I think before we get started on this, let's go back and revisit what was just like 2 or 3 days ago and my review of this. But let's just look at the flight footage. And as we go through it here, you'll see that, some of you have already seen this and it's fresh in your memory, but we got bobbles and wobbles, and as I stated in that video, it's overpropped. It's a small motor, 1102, 18,000 kV on 1S, and it's spinning a 3-inch prop. And I suggested in that video that we'd probably need to try a Gemfan 2023, which is a tri-blade prop, or these press-on props. These are Gemfans, I believe. They certainly don't have the HQ shape to them. But we're going to take a look at those in a second. But let's jump to the other part of my review video where I do some flips and rolls, and you can see additional bobbles and wobbles in those. And while what I'm going to be showing you today isn't perfect, it was kind of a 2-battery sort of retune. It flies a whole lot better, and as we take off and we cruise through the neighborhood, we don't have quite the same wind during this flight, but there is a breeze. The weather data says 9 miles an hour, but there's gusts in that. So I would say at least 12 miles an hour, and possibly a touch more than that. Hopefully you find that this is much smoother flight. And also, when we get all the way to the end, actually got about 20 seconds more flight out of this than I did with the original props. So you don't lose any flight time, or at least according to my flights, you don't lose any flight time, and it flies a whole lot smoother. Again, I didn't dive deep into the PID tuning. All I did was throw on new props, and I did a slight re-PID tune. CLI dump for the PID tune is down in the video description. Yeah, you can adapt that to your HR or HX115LR, and you'll get, hopefully, you should get the same results that I've got here with a much smoother flight. And as we get to the end of this flight, I've also got some more aggressive flight that we'll take a quick look at. Let's go ahead and let's play a little bit more. We're only about a minute 20 into our flight of the revised HX115LR. So I want to make sure I give you as much to look at as possible as far as this new tune. And I will acknowledge, I still see a bit of a bobble every once in a while. If you missed it, in my original review, I talked about how when the wind does blow, it blows down this road the heaviest. Most of you are probably used to seeing me flying in the back. Of course, in the back, we have all sorts of protection from the wind. We've got trees, we've got houses. There's just far less wind. Oftentimes when it's really windy, I can still fly in the backyard as long as I keep it down below, say, the gutter line. Once you get up above the gutter line, especially with a super light micro such as this, you really start to feel the effect of those winds pushing us around and impacting our flight characteristics. But out front, we're not nearly as protected, and the wind just blows right down through the road, right to the curvy side of the cul-de-sac down here. And that's where it's going to have the greatest impact on the flight characteristics. But it's still, in my opinion, again, far better than it was. And just to hit you over the head again, I got 20 more seconds running these props. And I think these props are cheaper too. I think you get like an 8-pack for $4. That's going to vary depending upon where you buy. But yeah, and also I think the Pyro Drone props, I happen to be wearing a Pyro Drone hat tonight, and the Pyro Drone props have a very, very similar shape. They may be the exact same props that maybe Gemfan just made a set with the Pyro Drone colors, and so Pyro Drone is selling them under their label or brand. But I do think these are Gemfan 65mm props. Pay attention if you're looking to pick some up. These are the 1.5mm shaft size. There's a lot of these props available in the 1mm shaft size. You don't want those, because then you're going to have to drill them out, and whenever you drill out props, there's always that potential that our drilling isn't perfect, and then we get some vibrations that impacts the quad. So you want to get the 1.5 millimeter shaft size of the Gemfan 65 millimeter press-on props. Mine happen to be blue, but I think because I've had these so long, I don't know that you'll find them in blue. When I went looking, I think I found them in what they call whiskey, which is kind of a clear black. I think they had orange and possibly one other color that is escaping me now, but I did not find blue, which really kind of nicely fits the motif of the quad, and it fits BetaFPV's brand colors, so that's a little bit disappointing. I actually looked on BetaFPV's website for these props as well, and I did not find them. So if you're looking for these props, I'll have a link down in the video description to a couple of stores that I can find the Gemfan 65 millimeter, 1.5 millimeter shafts. How many times have I said that in the last 2 minutes? So we've pumped up over 4 minutes of flight here. It was a hot day, 96, 97 degrees with the, what the Weather Channel calls it, the real feel, or feels like. I don't know if it's my app or the actual website, but with the humidity calculated in there at 106. So another sweaty-faced goggle day out doing some of these flights. And yeah, as I said, you could make it better. Dive into the filters, do some more PID tuning. I did kind of a quick and dirty with the PID tune that I had on it. With these props, it still had more bobbles and wobbles than you're seeing now, but with some changes that I have in that CLI dump that's linked down in the video description, able to get rid of just about all those bobbles and wobbles. We're nearing the end of the flight. You see the low battery warning, and I do run the battery just a touch low, so as far as my calculation of getting 20 seconds of more flight time, there's a variable to that, but there's always a variable, because are you using the exact same battery, and was it charged exactly in the same channel on your charger that was previously? So yeah, you shouldn't lose flight time. That should be the takeaway as far as the flight time aspect goes. I'm in for our landing here in just a moment. There we go, and I still got my camera out. All right, let's go into that backyard flight that's more aggressive, but no sound, or no pilot sound. Here we go. We've got the annoying land now. I forgot to change the battery power to where the maximum power would be to 4.3 volts per cell. So we've got that annoying land now. If you've ever run into that, you know what I'm talking about. But if you high volt charge your batteries, the flight controller firmware will think your battery is somehow depleted, so you've got to change the maximum power on your battery settings for in beta flight. I just put it at like 4.45, I think is what I typically put. But this gives you a little bit of a display of a little bit more aggressive flight. And with these smaller props, they could have made it, a 110. They could have made it smaller. They could have made it lighter, less carbon, less arm length. So we could have gotten even more flight time out of this quad. BetaFPV, if you need any help, reach out. I'm sure glad to help. I want everybody to have a good experience in FPV. So that's a little bit of a joke. I don't expect BetaFPV to reach out and ask for my help. But hopefully this is a sample that you find is useful to kind of confirm or deny that the flight is better. Hopefully I've given you plenty of flight footage to look at. I think this actually becomes a much more fun quad because you can fly it aggressively. And if you're a cruiser and you like to just go out and cruise, that you can now do that more effectively with these props in this tune. So it's something that you might consider. If you do consider this, then there'll be a link down in the video description to BetaFPV's website where you can pick it up. And of course, as I said, a link to the props as well as a link to my CLI for the PID tune. Also, you'll find that the amp rating down there is way off and the scaling isn't anywhere near correct. I did not fix that in my changes. I was focused on the flight characteristics, not the OSD. So we're not pulling 20 amps on this 1S battery on these props. Just not getting anywhere near close to that. I'm going to let this flight play out. Unfortunately, there's no flight sound. I didn't really think that was all that important. You can see everything I thought you would want to see in the flight performance. And if you do have any comments, questions, suggestions, or otherwise, please let me know in the comments section below. I appreciate your time. And thanks for watching.